Previously, in this series, we've discussed Facebook's dirty little secret, social media habits, hurtful words, and online envy. This time, we're going to show you an important tool to make sure your relationship with the world of social media is a healthy one, where you are in control. Social media gets a bad rap. As we mentioned in previous videos, we've all seen studies indicating the damage done by social media. On the other hand, we know that platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat also have positive uses. So why are we consistently using and consuming it in such a negative way? Sometimes to laughable extremes. My favorite, unbelievable yet true example is of Nikolas Wig. On June 19, 2014, in South St. Paul, Minnesota, he decided to rob a house, and he might have gotten away with it, except he logged into Facebook on the computer of the person whose house he was robbing. Police say the 26-year-old checked his profile from their home and then forgot to log off, leading to his ultimate arrest. Who does that? Nikolas Wig does that. I'm sure you're thinking, I'm not as addicted to being online as Nikolas Wig. And that's probably true. At least we hope so. But it still goes to show how bad things are getting. However, it's also true that we shouldn't write off social media completely and throw out the baby with the bathwater. One of the deepest insights of Jewish wisdom is that everything in this world, everything that God created, has an equal potential for good and bad. If something can cause such massive problems, it must be that it also has the potential for immense good. King Solomon wrote in the book of Kohelet, Zeh le'umat zeh asa ha'Elohim. This opposing that God created. This teaches us that all things, no matter how seemingly bad, have the power in them for good. We just need to learn to figure these things out and try to find the good inherent within them. How can we apply this to social media? How can we make sure that we're still in command of how we use Facebook, Snapchat, Insta, and the others, and aren't just being roped along? There is a mind-blowing psychological condition called Stockholm Syndrome, which I think is key to understanding this subject with clarity. Stockholm Syndrome is a condition that causes hostages to develop a psychological alliance and feelings of sympathy for their captors. It sounds crazy that someone who's been taken hostage or kidnapped could begin to feel affection for their captor. This condition gets its name from an actual incident that occurred during a bank heist in Stockholm, Sweden. The burglars took 4 hostages. They held them for 5 days in the bank's vault and used their very lives repeatedly as bargaining chips in negotiations with the police. During this time, the hostages began to feel a closeness with their captors, warning them that the police were coming, and get this, after they were released, even raising funds to pay for the legal defense of one of the robbers. Why? One of the theories brought by psychologists to explain this phenomena is very interesting. The attachment is formed due to the minuscule amount which the captives are in fact receiving from their captors, such as basic food and water. This is true despite the fact that they are depriving them of far greater things, such as freedom, safety, dignity, and despite the fact that their motive for giving them even that is motivated by the self-interest of using them as bargaining chips. One of the conditions seemingly required for this attachment to come about is that the hostage can have no contact with anything from the outside world. This is because that provides them with what's called an external point of reference. That external point of reference is something which allows a person to take a step back from a situation and view it more objectively, and see that, in fact, this kindness in context is actually quite cruel. What does any of this have to do with social media? Well, in a sense, we have just understood that given a small contextual window, we are capable of seeing small advantages as really positive things, even when their price is quite hefty. We love Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter, despite the fact that what we are gaining from them is at times dwarfed by what they take away from us. The amount of time and energy we invest into them is definitely not always rewarded proportionately. Think about it. If you bought a magazine where for each one interesting article, you had to read through 50 terrible or irrelevant ones, would you subscribe? And yet, we do. One way to break out of this captivation is by utilizing that external point of reference, by making contact with the outside world. What could this be? Believe it or not, Judaism has an answer. Shabbat. Shabbat is a way in which people can remove themselves from their routine life for one day a week, allowing them to evaluate things and re-enter into their lives with a more objective and clear outlook and understanding. This is especially true when it comes to social media. Now, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not. And no, it doesn't need to be Shabbat. It can be any day of the week. And that part of the Shabbat principle still works. If you've ever been away from your phone for a day or two because you lost or broke it, or because you're a Shabbat observant Jew, you'll know that when you turned your phone back on, you didn't scroll back through a day and a half worth of Facebook and Instagram feeds. And that's because in reality, you're able to live without. What you actually do is take the 30 seconds it takes to go through only the important notifications that have come up. There is a great awareness and realization that can come from spending one day per week away from social media as an external point of reference. You aren't as dependent on it as you thought, and that makes all the difference. It turns you from a zombie who was so ensnared by the internet that you've forgotten what life could be like without it, into a person who is able to tune in and tune out, thereby giving you back a healthy level of control and objectivity when it comes to your relationship with social media. It reminds you what real people are actually like and not their social media profiles. It clues you in to the idea that when you insult people, it hurts their feelings because you see that happen in the real world. Give it a try. You may well be shocked by the results you begin to see.
To stay up to date with the latest JCV content, if you're on YouTube, click subscribe below the video and the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, click the like button, and under following, click see first.